Hi, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk Chicago. Great to be back another week here with you. My name's Jon Zaghloul. John Meadows is directing and producing. So much to get to here on today's program. We're so excited to be here with you on this great day. So much Bears news to get to. The Cubs and White Sox are going to be starting off their seasons this week, so we're going to get to a full preview for that in the last segment of today's program. We have an NFL columnist coming out and saying that the Bears may be the NFL Cinderella team in 2024. Plus, Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles speak out about the Justin Fields trade. You're not going to want to miss what Kevin Warren had to say about it. That'll be in the second segment of today's program. I want to give a warm welcome to all of our great radio and TV affiliates across the STC Syndication Network, 101.1 Peoria Sports Radio, 98.3 The Live, WKAN, 105.5 The Ticket, ACTV, Gen TV, WJOB, Cities, 92.9 Talk FM, and our friends up in Rockford, WROK, 1440 AM. If you want to follow us, you can at Sports Talk Chicago. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. If you're listening on the radio, you want to see my pretty face, you can subscribe on YouTube, hit the like button on this video, and watch as we discuss all of these great topics here. I'm appreciative for everybody being here. So good to be here with so much to discuss, and I'm glad to be here for another program and another week here on Sports Talk Chicago. This made me cringe a little bit, but also made me excited. I'll explain why. Here's the headline from Adam Shine at NFL.com, a contributing columnist. With Caleb Williams making magic, Chicago Bears will be NFL's Cinderella team of 2024. Now, I don't doubt that that's true, and I'll read about what he said in here. I don't doubt that that's going to be the case, but it just worries me to see it because last year we all said the same thing. I made excuses for this team last year to my own detriment. I'm sure you guys did too. And at the end of the day, they went 7-10. And while that was an improvement over the year before, which was the worst year in Bears history by record, it still was not enough. They should have done more. And it was a shame to see the way things ended last year, especially with that tough loss to Green Bay. Nevertheless, I have a little bit more faith that this year will be a Cinderella-type year. I had said last week on the program when we talked about Caleb Williams and expectations that 10 wins should be the bar. And if they get to 10, I think it's a successful season in year one of a rookie quarterback. But I digress, and we'll talk about what Adam Shine says here. Here's what he says. Now, his criteria for being a Cinderella team. A team must not have made the playoffs in the previous season. That's number one. And it shouldn't be widely considered a Super Bowl contender. I actually agree with him on both of those Cinderella team criteria. The Bears are not going to win the Super Bowl this year. Whether people want to say it or not, it's not going to happen. There are some Bears fans putting that lofty expectations on Caleb Williams in his first year, which we talked about last week and how that's unfair and it's out of spite, not truth or reality. The Bears are not making the Super Bowl this year. And also, they must have not made the playoffs in the previous season. The Bears have never made the playoffs since 2020 and then have never really been successful, quote-unquote, since 2018. The 2020 playoff appearance was more of a backing into the playoffs because Arizona lost, as we remember. The Bears have never truly earned a playoff spot since 2018. So that criteria is certainly met. You can ask a Bears fan today, they won't even know the last time the Bears made the playoffs. So that's true. That's correct. So here's what he said about what the Bears have accomplished so far, which I concur with on most things. He said this, quote, I still cannot believe General Manager Ryan Poles nabbed Keenan Allen in exchange for a fourth-round pick. What an amazing steal. I love how he's going to match with DJ Moore, a king of yards after the catch and highlight reel plays. The Allen-Moore pairing is going to be a terrific, dynamic 1-2 punch. Yes. And I would say this, too, and I believe I saw this on Twitter this past week. This is going to be the first time, assuming the Bears draft Caleb Williams, that a rookie quarterback is going to walk into a situation with two 1,200-plus yard wide receivers who had put up those numbers the year before. So the Bears currently now, because Keenan Allen did it last year and DJ Moore certainly did as well, they're going to have two 1,200-plus yard wide receivers ready to go day one for Caleb Williams. This is, historically speaking, now, The best situation any quarterback's ever walked into. Think about that for a second. We're talking about decades, almost a century of NFL football. This right here, statistically speaking, when it comes to wide receivers, is the best situation any quarterback has ever walked into. That's what Caleb Williams is going to inherit, and as Shine pointed out correctly, a lot of credit there goes to Ryan Poles. A lot of credit there goes to Ryan Poles. You bring in Keenan Allen, you already got DJ Moore. Maybe you'll draft a wide receiver as well. All of a sudden, you got a nice 1-2 punch up top. You could develop a rookie, make him a number 3. Maybe Bayless Jones gets opportunities. I don't know. But the point is, you have a top, solid 1-2, and you could build out 3 through 5 if you need to. Shine goes on to say this, quote, the offensive improvements weren't limited to Allen. Don't overlook the underrated signing of Gerald Everett, who should make a solid partner for Cole Kmet at tight end. And, of course, new running back DeAndre Swift is a good runner with reliable hands out of the backfield. I liked his addition before, but it looks even better now that Keenan Allen is in the fold. On the other side of the ball, Poles smartly retained terrific playmaking corner Jalen Johnson. As we know, head coach Matt Eberflus's defense operated at a different level last season after the Montez Sweat trade and then the extension last year as well. And Eberflus's D is going to become a big part and a true force of this team, says Shine. Also very much correct. Also very much correct. This all goes back years in the making, too. I want to make that clear here. For better or for worse, I should say, it hasn't been perfect for Ryan Poles. There have been questionable decisions. There have been mistakes. And we on this program have always called him out about it. And we're not afraid to call him out about it. The Chase Claypool thing, my goodness, that was bad. That was horrible. But there were so many good things that have occurred for Poles and that he's done since he took over. I was not a fan of the teardown and the rebuild and the quote-unquote tanking during the 3-15 season. But you know what? It's paid off. They have DJ Moore because of it. This past year, going 7-10, kind of sucked, but now they have the number 1 overall pick due to their trade for DJ Moore as well. And they have the number 9 pick due to their bad record and their crappy performance. Ryan Poles has used the draft to his advantage, for sure. He made the tough decision to part with the quarterback that he did not ask for, which is huge. He brought in stud wide receivers. He extended players who he knew would contribute, like Johnson, Cole Kmet. Another Cole Kmet, to his credit, I give him a lot of crap, but I'll tell you what, last year was the best year he's ever had in the NFL after getting paid. I have a lot of respect for that. Ton of respect for that. Ryan Poles did all of this for better or for worse, and there have been hiccups along the way. Mainly with wide receiver, ironically enough, especially Bayless Jones and Chase Claypool. But he's also made those moves right. Now you got Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. Can't really complain. This Bears team is solid thanks to the additions and the legwork that Ryan Poles has done putting this roster together. Now, here's what Shine has to say on Justin Fields. I've been looking forward to this one. I like Justin Fields, and I don't think he was always put in the best position during his time as the QB in Chicago. I understand why Poles said trading Fields to the Steelers was probably one of the harder things he had to do, but to my eyes, in terms of team building, it was a no-brainer because it helped clear the way for them to add an absolute superstar when the draft kicks off in Detroit. He goes on to say that Caleb Williams isn't just a solid prospect, he's sensational and dreamy. Gosh, all right. I mean, I've never used the word dreamy, but he's certainly a really good prospect. He's certainly outstanding. He's a Heisman Trophy winner, and he has a lot to bring to the table. And I will say this, and we said this last week, and we're going to continue to beat this drum throughout the Caleb Williams rookie season saga here in Chicago. Whether you agreed with the Justin Fields trade or not, you cannot dispute the fact that at surface level, Caleb Williams has a higher ceiling than Justin did or does. And that's a fact. Caleb Williams is a legitimate pocket passer. He's a Heisman Trophy winner. He's a superstar already, and he hasn't even stepped on the football field yet. He will be the number 1 overall pick. And he's going to be tasked with a huge undertaking. Justin Fields got a fair opportunity, whether people like it or not. Things were crazy around Fields. Things were all over the place with regime change, etc. But at the end of the day, in terms of on-the-field performance, Field got 40 games to prove himself about. And he didn't prove himself. He still could have improved last year or taken a real big step upwards. And there could have been a situation in which the Bears would say, well, we're going to keep him. Right? That didn't happen. It didn't happen because regardless of all the outside factors that people like to discuss and use as excuses, the fact is, in terms of raw on-the-field performance, it did not get better. It stayed stagnant or at times got worse. In fact, many times it got worse. So the trade needed to happen. The move needed to be made. Might have been hard for Ryan Poles. Might have been hard for Kevin Warren. But at the end of the day, it needed to be made. And I commend the Bears immensely for not acting off of feelings. Because the Bears in the past did. With many things. And that's why they've been mired in mediocrity. There was no rationality in some decisions that they've made. It was simply, I have an affinity with this guy. I like that guy. I just can't put myself through the heartache of getting rid of him. Well, the Bears did it. Heartache aside, from a man-to-man perspective, they said, you know what, Justin? You're a great guy, but as a football player and as a quarterback, we got to move on. Very similar to Mitch Trubisky. Good guy, but as a football player and a quarterback, we got to move on. And that's okay. I wish Justin Fields nothing but the best. But the fact is, in this situation, the Bears needed to move on. Now, Caleb Williams does not need to do much in order to be one of the best Bears quarterbacks in Bears history. I think that's something that needs to be said too. If Caleb Williams walks in next year, just throwing for 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 10 picks, you understand that that's a better season than Justin Fields has ever had. Justin Fields has never thrown for 20 touchdowns. Justin Fields has never thrown for 3,000 yards. And if he throws for 4,000, which I'm not expecting that at a Caleb year one, but if he does, we're talking about breaking Bears franchise records for single-season passing yards in his rookie year. And I'll tell you this, with Keenan Allen and DJ Moore at his disposal, he just might do it. He just might do it. And if he does, that's great. You can't pass on somebody like Caleb Williams. So here's what Shine ended with. He said, quote, "It's amazing to see how much progress Poles has made following the disastrous 2022 trade for receiver Chase Claypool. Claypool flamed out, but Poles has mostly pulled the right levers since. And I would argue even before he made some good decisions. The Claypool thing and the Bayless Jones thing to me are the worst two things he's ever done. Other than that, it's been pretty smooth sailing for Poles. Besides keeping Matt Eberflus at the end of last season." And here's how Shine ends it. He says, quote, "He and Eberflus had this organization ready to take a step forward, and Caleb Williams is, quote, about to change everything." Tried to add a dramatic effect to that. But really, that's the truth. And I actually like this article. It scares me to make this prognostication so early on because we've heard it so many times. And that's not even just a Bears thing. That's a Chicago sports thing. For some reason, everybody likes to say, this team's going to do great, that team's going to do great, and they never do. Last year, the Cubs are going to do great, and then they blew it in September. Or, other years, the Cubs are going to be good. Or the Bulls are going to be good this year, and things are going to get better for them. Well, the Bulls are in the tanker, in the crapper right now. They're doing horrible. Like, every year we hear about, yes, they're going to be good. Yes, they're going to be a Cinderella team. Yes, we're going to see good things, and we never do. That happened last year for the Bears. It happened in 2020 for the Bears, if you recall, and 2019 after the 2018 season. If you remember, after 2018 heading into 2019, that was the Bears' 100th anniversary. They did that big promotion with Mitch Trubisky and Jim McMahon. There were people writing articles. There were people prognosticating right away that this team was going to win the Super Bowl. Now, I don't blame anybody based on how 2018 went. Nevertheless, they couldn't have been more wrong. So I'm always a little bit scared, a little bit, some trepidation here in terms of how real is this sentiment. But I will say this. Being a Cinderella team would take a lot, and the Bears have done a lot. This isn't just pulling a rabbit out of a hat here. The Bears have actually done the work and made significant moves to be in this position. They have two of the top 15 wide receivers in football, no question. No argument, no question, no debate. No, they have two of the top 15 wide receivers in football at their disposal right now. They're going to be drafting one of the greatest quarterback prospects of all time. They have a rejuvenated run game situation. They have defensive help. They have a defensive-minded head coach. There are a lot of things to look forward to. So I don't disagree with this proclamation from Adam Schein. I just hope that it all works out. We've seen it so many times crash and burn and flame out. And really, the one thing that could disrupt this entire thing, if there is one thing, it's going to be Caleb Williams, right? Everything, or I should say this, a lot of things are going to determine and depend on how good Caleb Williams does. I would say this, even if Caleb Williams has an average rookie year, he could be lifted up by all the good pieces around him. The Bears are going to have a decent defense. They're going to have great wide receivers. They're going to have a couple of good running backs. So even if Caleb Williams does not do amazing this year, I think that everything around him will lift him up and lift this team up regardless. That said, if Caleb Williams turns out to be a bust, that's where there's going to be an issue. And we don't know that yet. I'm not anticipating it. I really don't think that's going to happen. I'd be stunned if it did. But that's the one way this entire article could put a red X through it. Could be X'd out. So we got to keep that in mind. But nevertheless, I'm excited to be a Bears fan right now. You should be too. And this article is accurate. Could the Bears be the NFL Cinderella story of 2024? You betcha. Of course they can. They have the pieces, and they've done the work to prove it. The question is now, can they execute? Can they execute on the field? Can they mesh together as a team? Can they work hard towards one common goal, which for me is 10 wins and a wild card playoff appearance? I think that's possible. Just up to them to get on the field and actually make it happen. But this is an interesting read. Go to NFL.com. You could see that. I got to tell you, I saw that. I'm like, man, we got to talk about this. Cinderella story, prognostication. The Bears haven't even drafted Caleb Williams yet. We're already talking about all this. Man. What month is it? April? Almost? I mean, geez. We got a long way to go before football, and we're already talking about things like this here on STC.